Welcome in, Bills Mafia. Welcome back to another edition of the Sunday Sit Down. This is season 2 of the Sunday Sit Down, kicking off with a very special guest that we will have. And I figured what better way than to bring out the show in season 2 than to have one of the best guests that you can possibly ever have on the show. And one of the biggest Bills fans. You don't get to hear much about him because he's usually playing host and he's trying to play the role of being the equalizer on our shows. Then I figured I have to bring in Mr. Mike Thornton for his Sunday sit down. We've been trying to get this done for a while, and I'm so glad to have him on. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good, Brad. I'm glad. I'm super happy to see that you're coming back with the second season of the Sunday Sit Down. Me and the guys have been telling you we really enjoyed it last year, and thanks for hyping me up, man. Saying one of the best guests. But one thing is true: I'm a diehard Bills fan, and I've been a Bills fan for a very long time. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, anytime, Mike. You're always welcome on the Go Bills podcast. And for those of you that don't know Mike, he runs Nickel City Mafia. And if you are new to my channel and you haven't seen Mike, click on over, go on the Nickel City Mafia, check him out on YouTube. He's on Facebook as well as on many other social media sites. He does a lot of good things, and he's also somebody that does a lot for charity as well. He raised over $5,000 for Cardell and his family this winter for cancer. So, Mike, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, and I'm going to tell you that right now. So,
Uh-oh.
I sent you a preview of what you're going to see, but they're not the questions that you're going to see. Right. Obviously, I sent you somebody else's. So I got to know, are you ready for your Sunday sit down?
I'm looking for the eject button here, but absolutely. I'm ready, Brett. Let's go.
All right, let's go. So first of all, I know you're from Buffalo. You're born and raised in Buffalo, but you moved to California. So talk to me about why you moved from New York to California.
So, yes, I grew up in Buffalo, South Buffalo area, and mostly in a place called the Valley. It was called the Valley because to get into the neighborhood, you had to come over a bridge, no matter where it was. Bridges bordered the Valley. So it was a great area. A lot of good memories there. And then around, I don't know, my high school year, I think it was going into my sophomore year. So my freshman year, summer comes along. And I decided to go visit my dad. He lives in California. My dad was in the Air Force, and he was stationed at George Air Force Base in California. My brother had moved in with him a year before. So I'm like, all right, let me go visit my brother. Let me go visit my dad. And this was just a summer break, just a vacation. I go out there, and of course, I meet a girl. It's a story. I meet a girl, and I decide, you know what? I'm going to ask my mom if I can move out with my dad. So I go back home and I decide to move out with my dad. That was the first time I moved to California. I ended up graduating there, and there was a couple times I went back and forth to Buffalo, but we can talk about that a little bit later. So, yeah, that's the first time I was just going out to visit my dad. I didn't think I'd be going out there to live.
Mike, I know you're one of the biggest Bills fans in the world. But talk to me about the moment that you knew that you were going to be a Bills fan, and the moment that when you first you saw the colors, you saw the team, and you said, "This is my team forever." Talk to me about that.
I don't know. As a person born in Buffalo, I was born at a hospital, Mercy Hospital in Buffalo, and I always joke that I believe that when you're born right out of the womb, they wrap you in a Bills blanket. And then they take you to where they take the babies and they put you in front of a TV playing Bills, memories, playing all kinds of Bills films from the past. But honestly, Brett, I mean, there was just never a doubt that I was a Bills fan. I mean, my family, diehard Bills fans, the games were on all the time. And I like to say it around the age of 5 or 6, maybe even 7, when I first started, before I knew it. And when I can remember as far back, I was just a Bills fan. I was asking my grandfather, because my dad was always, my mom and dad, they divorced at a young age, and he was always overseas. He was in the military for quite some time. So I had a really good bonding with my grandfather. He was like that dad to me, my best friend. And we just watched the games. I'd be like, when's the game on next? I'd go over his house. So it wasn't a case of, when did that team just become my team? I think I say this all the time. Um, I was born a Bills fan, and by the time I knew it, it was just second nature to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way with you. I mean, my dad at a young age, I wasn't born in Buffalo, obviously, but my dad held me up like the scene in The Lion King, and in front of Ralph Wilson Stadium said, pretty much you're going to be a Bills fan. And ever since then, that's when I became a Bills fan. So I know you're also big into other sports as well. You not only do you watch football, but you watch a few other sports. Talk to the viewers about what other sports you watch.
So being from Buffalo, obviously the Buffalo Sabres, hockey, big, love hockey. Um, I played a lot of sports as a kid, and I loved playing street hockey, but I was never good. I can never pick up skating for some reason. If I had, I think I would have been pretty darn good. But I played a lot of football, played pee wee football, um, with a place called the Babcock Boys Club, in my area. So I played around 10 to 12 tackle football. I was also a huge basketball fan, still am. I never really played much basketball. I did play a little bit in high school, but if you can see behind me, you see the Buffalo Sabres, and you see the two Bills above it, and I got to get the camera angle to see it. There was a professional basketball team in Buffalo called the Buffalo Braves. And I think it was around 1978. So I was about 12 years old at that time, and I was a huge follower. I love them. Bob
Yep.
McAdoo, Randy Smith. They decided to up and leave Buffalo. And they went
Yep.
out to they moved to San Diego, became the San Diego Clippers, and now they're the LA Clippers. But that broke my heart. And I'm not the type of guy, like, if you leave me, I'm not following you. So I had to pick another basketball team. I could have went with a New York team, but at that time, my dad was a huge Boston Celtics fan, so I decided to follow the Celtics. But there's not many sports I don't like, Brett. I mean, my son's in the soccer. I watch a lot of soccer. Heck, I like tennis, bowling. Being from Buffalo, bowling's the big thing, man. During the winter, there's not a lot of things to
Yep.
do, so we bowled a lot. So yeah, there's pretty much, I mean, not many sports that I don't enjoy.
Well, you mentioned tennis, and one of the biggest tournaments that you have, and it's pretty much considered the fifth major that you have for tennis, is Indian Wells, which is right around the corner from where you live. So, have you ever been out to Indian Wells?
No, I have not been to that, but years ago, when I first moved out here to Cal, well, not the first time, but when I moved back as an adult, I got a job in a sporting goods store. It was called Sport Mart. It's no longer around, but they sent me to, I think it was called Virginia Slims. It was the ladies' professional tennis um, organization, and I got to go to LA to see. And this is way back. This is when Chris Everett was playing.
Yep.
I got to see Chris Everett play. It was fantastic. And yeah, when I went there, I had never been to a professional tournament before, but it was so much fun. And unfortunately, for some reason, it was the last time I ever went to a tournament.
That's crazy though, because you probably never even knew this about me, but I actually teach tennis. That's one of the things that I do for a living. And I work around pretty much everything tennis related. So we have a tennis tournament down in Bonita Springs, which is like an hour away from me. I do the DJing for that tournament, and I get to meet a ton of good players. One of them that you'll love this story is their father is Bob McAdoo.
Oh,
So
nice. Wow.
pretty cool. So it goes full circle. Another player I met, Jessica Pegula, who is Terry
Yeah.
Pegula's kids. Got to meet her. She was incredible. I was wearing my Bills shirt, all loud and proud and everything. I'm like, I'm gonna get an autograph. I'm gonna, she's gonna love seeing the Bills shirt. I'm gonna get season tickets. I'll be in the owner's suite and everything. I'm gonna have owner's tickets and everything. She never even acknowledged me. I
Oh,
was
man.
so upset. I'm like, damn it, I didn't get
Wait, so you're at one of their tournaments and you're in
to.
the stands wearing the gear?
No, so this is a small little tournament. It's
Okay.
pretty much like, you have the higher level tournaments, and then you have these ones where they're like a couple players from the top 100 will be there. And I'd say maybe 500 to 1,000 people max at the tournament. And you get to see them up close and personal. You're right next to the court. And I got to see her practice. And I walked right past her practice court, and I'm like going like this. I'm like, I got my Bill shirt on. I got my Bill shirt on. Doesn't even acknowledge me. She's so focused and everything, ready to go, and didn't even see me. I was so upset by it. And I messaged her on Instagram, and she ended up writing me back. And I said that I was really upset that, you didn't acknowledge me. I'm a huge Bills fan. I was telling you that I was a huge Bills fan. And she said that I'm really sorry. I didn't see it. I apologize. And that, if I would have seen it, I would have loved it because I follow the Bills and I love the Bills. And she just kind of laughed it off and everything. And now, going to this day, I feel better about it, but we're not friends, I would say, but I got some, have that moment where I got to say that I talked to the owner's daughter of the Bills. So
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, thinking back to that Virginia Slims, there's some other names that came up was Gabriella Sabatini,
yep.
Navratilova. Just those were the type of players that were playing in this tournament, and it was just so cool to watch. And I now that you bring it up, I got to get back to another one. I've never been to a men's one, and again, I only went to the women's because I worked for a sporting goods store, and they sent us down there to actually, believe it or not, to basically just promote our store. I think we were stringing rackets for folks back then. So yeah,
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
So let's get back to not to tennis, but let's get back to football. We can always talk about tennis. That's one thing that we can talk about for hours and hours and hours. But let's talk about football, and let's talk about something that you started a few years ago, which is to become a podcaster. I want to know, how did you become a podcaster and why did you decide to do it?
Right. So I'm a tech guy, right? I've been in tech now for 30 plus years. And I was watching my kids watching YouTube all the time. I have an 11-year-old, I had an 18-year-old. When I started the podcast, which is almost 3 years ago now, my youngest was 8, and and I have older children, by the way. They live in Buffalo. I have 3 beautiful children that still live in Buffalo. But the 2 children live with me today. Back then, they were 15 and 8. And I just got tired of them watching YouTube. And they're watching these young kids on YouTube. And these YouTubers have like millions of subscribers. And I joke with them. I was like, guys, why don't you do this? Why don't you, come up with something and I'll help you with it. I'll help you from the tech side. Nah, Dad, we can't do that. Nah, we can't. So I kept hearing all these negatives. We can't. I said, well, guess what? Your dad's going to start one. So I did it. I did the research. As you know, when you first start out, it's tough, especially if you don't have anyone to ask questions. And I had no one to ask questions. And I still remember my inaugural stream going live, and I was all proud of it. But it's still cool. It's out there for my kids, and I kept it out there for my kids. But when I'm doing the show, people are like, man, Mike, I heard this echo. It's like you were echoing. And whenever I was on camera, my camera right now in front of me also has a microphone as well as the microphone here, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't using StreamYard. I was using OBS. And OBS is, you have to control a lot more things. It's a lot easier now. But guess what? I have both mics live, so it was this terrible echo. And anytime I was on camera, you heard this, but when I was off camera, which probably was about 70% of the show, which is good. But yeah, so that's what it was kind of to prove to my kids that I could do it. Dad can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Right. Now they still haven't done it, unfortunately, but I continued on with it. I enjoy it. I've met a lot of good friends like Jake, you, Sean, Tony I work with at work. So, but other guys like Rick and Chris and all the great folks that we bring onto our channel, as well as all the, the members, the subscribers, the people that come on and chat it up with us. So it was all about not only proving to my kids that it can be done, but also I wanted to meet other folks. I wanted to meet other Bills Mafia, other sports people. And I didn't care, all over. I think I said it in my intro. I'm like, I want to meet people all over the country, all over the world.
Yep.
And example, we have a guy, it's a good friend. I consider him a friend. His name's Trev. He's out of Ireland. And Jake and I have met him. We've been on his show. He's been on ours. So it's really all about that, and just continuing to meet great people and try to put together content that folks enjoy.
That's true. And listen, I'll tell you this, we have a million different people that are doing podcasts for the Buffalo Bills. And to even touch one person is what I strive for. And I bet you do the same. I mean, whether it's one person or a million people, we try and bring the best content to every single person that's watching. So
yeah,
it's always
100%. You're 100% right. And we do it for the fun of it. Like when
Yeah.
I started this, I wasn't like, hey, we're going to get monetized someday and, and retire and do podcasts. And that's not even a thing. If anyone wants to know what a real podcaster makes, we just got monetized a little while ago. It takes a long, long time to get to the point where you're even making enough money to pay a bill. I
Yeah.
think I've made enough to buy a dinner for my family. but that's fine. I mean, the milestone was just to prove to my kids, have fun, talk about the Bills like you and I are doing right now.
Yep.
And if something happens down the road, great. But you have to enjoy what you do. And I've been lucky in life to have a great job that I love to do. And now this podcasting as a side hobby is also something I enjoy doing.
That's true. And we're doing it 4 or 5, sometimes 6 days a week. So it's always good to have these shows. And I'll tell you what, on your channel too, on Nickel City Mafia, they're going live every single day pretty much. We have shows that run Monday with you. Wednesday with you and Sunday as well. But we also have shows like the AFC Summit. We have the Red, White, and Ruthless shows. We also have shows with fantasy football. You have Saber's Edge. You also have the PGA show, which I haven't seen much of. I'm trying to get into it, but I'll tell you this much: golf is one of my least favorite sports. I can't get into it. It's a little boring and everything, but I love what they do as well, and it's great. And that's one of the things that you have is the diversification for your show, and it's great to see because not a lot of people talk about the Sabres and the Bills, as well as a fantasy football show, and you also have the AFC East Summit, and you have the golf show. So you're starting to come around a lot, and you also have something else that not a lot of people have. You like talking about food, and that's one thing too. So I want to bring that up in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of stuff on your show. But I have a few more Bills questions that I'm going to ask you. One of them in particular, which we haven't had a person that's come into the Wall of Fame in a few years. So I want to know from you, which Bills player do you want to see in the Wall of Fame?
Wow. So it would probably be, I'm big on the 90s team, right? And you're kind of hitting me here with a little bit because I can remember I know that Kelly's on there, I know that Thomas is on there, but it would probably be, and believe it or not, OJ Simpson's on there.
Yeah.
I say that lower. Look, from a football perspective, the guy was fantastic. From a person himself, there's a big question mark there. It'd probably be somebody on that 90s defense that didn't make the wall. You can correct me. I would say somebody like is Bennett on there? I would think Cornelius Bennett should be on there. If not, he should be one of those guys.
I believe he is on there. So.
Who else would it be? Back even going back further, Fred Smirlis.
Yeah,
Fred's
definitely on there.
And so you're hitting me up like, can you name off? Tell you what, it might be helpful if you do. We have the Wall of Fame. Who's on it right now?
Let me actually pull it up. I didn't pull it up though, but let me pull it up.
Because then I can give you a name that I think should be on there that's not.
A few names that aren't. I know of Kyle Williams, obviously. Ryan Lindell. I was thinking Fred Jackson, people like that. But let me pull up the Wall of Fame for the Buffalo Bills and see who is on it.
Let's go around. Fresh my memory. Who's on it now?
It was created in 1980 to honor former Buffalo Bills. Let's see who is on it so far. You have Edward, I'm going to probably say it wrong, Abramowski, Joe Delamolier, Albert
Debinion.
Yeah, I was going to say it wrong. Booker Edgerson, Joe Ferguson, Cookie Gilchrist, Phil Hansen, Kent Hull, Robert James, Bob Kelso, Jim Kelly, Jack Kemp, Marv Levy, Patrick McGroder. You also have Van Miller, Bill Polian, Andre Reed, Jim Richter, Lou Saban, George Sames, Tom Sestic, Billy Shaw, OJ Simpson, Fred Smirlis is on the list,
Okay.
Bruce Smith, Mike Stratton, somebody that's been forgotten about, Daryl Talley, Steve Tasker, the 12th man, Thurman Thomas, and Ralph Wilson Jr.
All right. Well,
So,
this that made it easy for me then, because Joe Ferguson, by the way, I tell the story all the time as a Bills person, as a Bills fan all my life, around early 1970s. So right around when I was 6 or 7 years old, when I really started watching the games and remembering, it was Joe Ferguson for me. I mean, when I was a kid out in the street pretending to throw a ball, playing street football, I was quarterback Joe Ferguson. Love that guy, still do. Um, but he threw to this guy who played wide receiver. One of my favorite wide receivers for the Bills back in those 70s was Bob Chandler.
yeah,
Bob Chandler was an amazing wide receiver. He died too young, but he did get to go play for the Raiders and win a Super Bowl. So Bob Chandler would be that guy.
that's a great one. One of the other ones I was thinking of was Chris Spielman.
Spielman?
Spielman was great. And I'm going to say this. Not a lot of people understand his story, but to give up his football career for his wife that was battling cancer and just to put it on hold and to do the right thing and become a husband, that's bigger than anything. That's bigger than football. That's bigger than anything possible. And I think that deserves some recognition as well. So he's on the Detroit Lions Wall of Fame,
Yeah.
but I think he deserves to be on the Bills Wall of Fame as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how many years he played with the Bills, but
it wasn't long though.
Yeah,
I know that.
So that's why he's on Detroit. But yeah, I love the story. And certainly that type of behavior is deserving of being on the wall. But yeah, so there's, I can go back, JD Hill, Bob Chandler, all these great receivers. You didn't name off Eric Moulds, Jerry Butler. There's so many, but I'm going to say Bob Chandler.
I like that. All right, Mike, we're going to move into our second segment. We're going to talk about the truth, or I'm sorry, this or that we're moving into. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. But I will have a few questions for you. I'm going to go real fast with them and ask them, but you're just going to give me one-word answers on these ones. The first one is going to be, which quarterback do you like better, Jim Kelly or Josh Allen?
Jim Kelly.
Okay. Bruce Smith or Von Miller?
Bruce Smith. That's easy.
That's easy. I had to give you the easy one. Okay. Are you a fan of a dome stadium or an open stadium?
Younger me, open stadium. Older me, dome stadium.
Okay. When you go to a Bills game and you're in the parking lot, are you going to jump over a table or not?
Hell no.
Hell no.
Okay. Younger me, maybe, but younger me, they didn't even have this table thing. So older me, no.
Okay.
I'll let the younger guys do that, buddy.
So are you a Beach Boys fan or are you a Rick James fan?
Both.
Okay. That's surprising.
I mean, Rick James is out of Buffalo.
Okay. Now here's the follow-up question to that. Okay. California girls or Buffalo gals?
Oh, wow. So I've been out here. Wow.
Now this is just a song, not the girls.
I know.
No. A song.
I know. Buffalo girls.
Okay. Like that one. Better food, Buffalo or California?
Oh, Buffalo all day. All day.
Okay. I like that answer. All right. We're going to move on to your next category, which is going to be your truth or lie your ass off. Now, just to remind the viewers, okay, this is a question that I made myself. And Mike doesn't know the question whatsoever. He has no idea what he's getting himself into. But this question is going to be one that is going to be legendary. He has to either tell the truth or lie his ass off. And the viewers get to decide whether he is telling the truth or lying his ass off. Okay. Mike, are you ready for your question?
I'm scared, but yeah, let's go.
All right. Here's the question. You're hosting a party where the Bills are playing the Chargers. Being a good host, you're getting a plate of your home-cooked wings to serve to a Chargers fan that showed up with one of your friends. You accidentally drop the wings on the floor. Do you throw them out and get new ones, or do you slap them back on the plate and say, "Enjoy, buddy"?
All right. Well, listen. So this is a real thing. I mean, I don't know if you talked to my wife or what. So I live in Charger country. I live out here near San Diego, and I did have folks come over to watch the Bills play the Chargers, and my wife made the wings. She makes great wings. So my wife figured out, she knows I love wings. There's no good wing place out here. She says she learns, she does the research, and my God, Brett, her wings are fantastic. She only does it for special occasions, like when people come over for a game that I was hosting. And so, my friends, we have a pretty big house. we're in the other room where the TV is. I go in to get the wings to bring them in. And yes, I drop a few. And dude, good wings are good. I don't care if they fall. It's like the 10-second rule. I scooped them up, put them on the plate, took them out to the guests, and no one knew any better that they had fallen. So if my friend Chad watches this, I apologize. That was a few years back, but yeah, it happened.
So we got to determine whether he is telling the truth or lying his ass off. He could be making up a completely lie story, or he could be telling the truth. Viewers get to decide in the comments section, and we'll see what that entails. But we do have a follow-up question to that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the second question. And you have to ask me, was it really an accident?
Was it really an accident?
That you dropped on the floor?
Oh, it was. I was in a hurry because I hate to miss any football. So it was an accident. Honestly, I would never do that because these are wings, man. These are the wings my wife made. Would I do that on purpose? Heck no, my friend.
I mean,
no.
We got to decide whether that's the truth or lying his ass off. I mean, that's tough. That's tough. He's giving a convincing story, guys. So you got to be able to tell if he's telling the truth or lying his ass off. We'll see. But all right, Mike, we're going to move on to our last segment, which is going to be a confessions time. Now, This is the time where I like to open up the floor to you. You get to talk about anything that's on your mind, anything that you might have done. I don't recommend answering anything that you might have done where you committed a crime or something like that. But if there's anything you want to get off your chest, I'm opening up the floor to you. You get to talk about it, and the show is yours. You get to talk about it.
Wow, this reminds me, growing up as a Catholic boy, going to the priest and confessing your sins. Yeah. So, funny story, and if my mom ever sees this, she'll be upset with me. But back in 8th grade, it was 7th grade, back in Buffalo, and I lived in the Valley. And there truly is almost a bar at every corner in Buffalo. But in my case, just walking to school, which was 6 blocks, I passed 5 bars. So heavy drinkers back in Buffalo. My family, my grandparents and my dad, my aunt, aunts and uncles, they were heavy drinkers. But guess what? I had never drank. I didn't. I was going to make it a goal. And I stayed pretty true to that, except for, I think it was 8th grade. Yeah, we had just graduated 8th grade. And my friends were like, hey, I have a sister. One of my friends says, I have a sister. She's 18. If we give her like $1, she'll go in and buy us beers. So we all chipped in. She bought us, we each got 2 beers with the money we contributed. 2 beers, Genesee Cream Ale. Genesee Cream Ale, I remember that. So we're on Perry Street, and there's a bridge there where a lot of kids used to hang out on the weekend. Not me. I was pretty straight and narrow, Brett. I mean, I played sports. I didn't, there was a lot of opportunity for me to do some drugs, a lot of drinking, smoking. No, none of that. But I was like, all right, I'll try a couple beers. So I get under the bridge and we start, I pop open that can of Genesee Cream Ale. It was absolutely disgusting. And I was a Pepsi guy back then. So whenever I went to parties, I'd bring my 6-pack of Pepsi. People joke with me, but sooner or later they just knew that they called me the Pepsi guy. But yeah, when I was having those 2 beers, I don't think I ever finished the second one. I was done with it. So I thank Genesee Cream Ale for never wanting me to drink again, and I never have. That was the only time I've had alcohol in my life. But my mom never found out. My mom was strict back then. Brett, we got in a lot of trouble. We had this, the strict parents. I always tell my kids now, you're so lucky that you didn't grow up when I was a kid, because that was the day. Those was the times when mom would get the belt, or whatever, and whatever was available for you to
Yeah.
get whooped. So she never found out, and I feel like if she found out now, she'd probably be looking for that belt and give me a good whooping.
No, I don't think so, because I think she would have been happy that you tried it once and you're done and you figured it out. So, I wouldn't be upset with you as a parent. I'd be like, damn, one time's the charm. Okay. There's always those cases like my dad. I'll tell you this. I'll write out my dad. When my dad was a kid, he was always the person that liked to clean up the drinks after the party. So when you clean up the drinks from an adult party, you take them to the back. And you know how before they used to have those folding doors that they would go into the kitchen and everything so people couldn't see you? Well, my dad used to take the drinks and instead of throwing them away, he'd drink the rest of them and then
Oh,
go drunk.
wow.
So he would do that, never got caught. Luckily, he never got caught. Well, that's something that he always remembers. And I'll tell you another story. This is funny. So my aunt and my dad were joking around in the kitchen. They were cleaning up the dishes and everything. And my grandfather came into the kitchen hearing them and was mad because he was watching TV and they were being loud. And he said that if they didn't get their chores done, that he was going to be pissed off and he would ground them. So they're being loud again, goofing off and not doing what they were supposed to do. And he came back into the room and my dad was cleaning butter off of a knife. And my grandfather came into the room, yelled at them again. And when my dad was joking around and he was going to take the butter and go like this and fling it at the door, well, my grandfather turned around and came back in and he hit him square in the forehead.
Oh, no.
And my grandfather, to this day, has no idea that that was butter. He thought that he was so mad that he was sweating and that there's sweat that was coming down his face. So my grandfather unfortunately passed away, but he'll never know the story. That was butter.
He knows really now. Butter. He knows now. He's watching.
He knows now. But no, we've told it a million times. It's funny as hell. I laugh every time I hear it. But
yeah, Mike, that's funny.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I only had to tell one confession. Thank you.
Yeah, you only had to tell one confession though. But if you have any more, you're more than welcome to tell a few more.
I won't. This just goes back to my mom once again. We were latchkey kids growing up. So my mom was a single mom, and she had to work. She had to work to support us. So she'd walk to work. She'd walk, I don't know, probably was 5-6 blocks to Niagara Envelope. And when she was gone, me and my brother, we'd come home from school. We'd invite people over. We'd play a bunch of, we'd have friends over playing some games with us. And man, there were so many close calls because my mom would always say, nobody comes over to the house. Nobody. We'd have people over partying. And there was a couple times, I still remember this one time. We're having a great time. And thankfully, we hadn't made too much of a mess. But there was my brother and I, and there was 3 other kids. And we had a back exit. So we hear this, and usually my mom came home around 4:30. Well, it was snowing, sort of like it's doing this weekend in Buffalo. Yeah. And we lived upstairs. So thankfully, we hear the door slam downstairs, the bottom of the stairs. Now, it could have been our downstairs, the owner that we were renting from. But I take a quick peek, and it's my mom. Like, oh my God. We come running out around the corner. Thankfully, all the kids were near the back. So they go running down the back, right? And they get out. My mom comes in as they're exiting, and they're being noisy, running down the stairs in the back. I'm thinking we're dead. My brother and I, we're going to be grounded forever. But they escaped, and my brother and I are distracting her. We're trying to make some noise to cover up the noise. We're distracting her. Thank God it worked. She never found out. And my mom doesn't watch these shows, so she'll never find out unless I tell her. But it was also some crazy times back then.
Now, follow-up question. Do you think that you'll be punished to this day if she finds out?
As you said, she wouldn't. She'd probably laugh at it now. She's changed quite a bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, she'd laugh at it. But she'd be like, "Oh my," or she might say, "I knew it. I knew I heard something." But
probably.
you guys got rid of the evidence quick enough.
Hey, you got to be sneaky as a kid. You got to be
You do,
smart. So,
especially when you're latchkey kids, man. You're home by yourself.
exactly.
Gotta have some fun.
You got to have fun. But Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate you being on here, and I appreciate you also for always having my back. And when we do these shows and everything, man, they're always fun. And being on your show as well, it's a blast too. So
Appreciate
I
it,
can't
man.
say enough about you, man. We will have another show later on this week for our AFC East Summit show on Tuesday. We'll also have more shows on the Nickel City Mafia, such as the Red, White, and Ruthless. We'll also have the Wednesday shows with Mike and Jake, as well as Sunday with Mike and Jake. So tune in to Nickel City Mafia, drop a nickel on their like button, and let's get their viewers up as well. And if you're coming over from the Go Bills podcast, let them know that I sent you there as well. We'll have more shows for the Sunday sit down coming up in the next few weeks. But as the Bills get into the playoffs and make a deep run, you know that we're going to have more guests. Our next guest is going to be Jake Podger, who is the co-host of the Nickel City Mafia. So we'll have another guest coming out later this week. But Mike, I got to ask you this. Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Buffalo, baby.
You know damn well.
I say that every year. Buffalo.
You know damn well that's going to happen. So
let's go.
Let's make it happen, though. Let's go and go Bills.
Go Bills.